Have you ever walked out into your garden, excited to check on your plants, only to find aphids covering your roses, whiteflies exploding into the air when you touch a leaf, or mealybugs hiding in every corner of your favorite plant? It's frustrating. You spend weeks planting, watering, feeding, and caring for your garden, only for tiny insects to show up and start undoing all of your hard work. And for many gardeners, the first instinct is to reach for a spray bottle filled with chemicals. The problem is that those sprays often create a bigger problem than the one they solve. They may kill the pests you can see, but they frequently harm the beneficial insects that are quietly protecting your garden. Behind the scenes, ladybugs, lacewings, hoverflies, parasitic wasps, and countless other helpful creatures can become unintended casualties. Then, once those natural defenders are gone, the pests return even stronger, and the cycle starts all over again. But what if your garden could become its own defense system? What if certain plants could actively repel aphids, confuse whiteflies, discourage ants, attract beneficial predators, and even release natural compounds that make your garden a place pests don't want to live? The truth is, nature has been solving pest problems long before humans invented pesticides. Some plants have evolved powerful natural defenses that not only protect themselves, but can also help protect everything growing around them. In today's video, we're revealing 7 incredible plants that work around the clock to fight some of the most common garden pests naturally. These are plants you can grow for beauty, fragrance, food, or pollinator support while they quietly help keep your garden healthier and more balanced. Welcome back to GreenNest Garden, where we make gardening simpler, smarter, and more rewarding. If you love practical gardening tips that actually work, make sure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and stay with me until the end, because some of the most powerful pest-fighting plants on this list might surprise you. The 3 mechanisms how these plants protect your garden. Before we go deeper, it's important to understand that pest-repelling plants don't all work the same way. They use different natural strategies. And once you understand these 3 mechanisms, everything else in your garden starts to make a lot more sense. Instead of thinking of them as random pest-repellent plants, you start seeing them as part of a system that works together to protect your crops in different ways. The first mechanism is chemical repellents, where plants release strong, natural scents or compounds that confuse or repel insects, making it harder for pests to find their target plants. The second is trap cropping, where certain plants attract pests more strongly than your vegetables, pulling them away and concentrating them in one place. The third is beneficial insect recruitment, where plants produce flowers that attract helpful insects, like ladybugs and lacewings, which then feed on the pests for you. Together, these 3 strategies create a natural defense system that works continuously in your garden. Plant number 1, marigolds, the natural pest barrier. Marigolds are one of the most trusted companion plants in gardening, and for good reason. These bright, cheerful flowers do much more than decorate your garden. They actively help protect it. Marigolds release strong natural compounds from their leaves and flowers, including scents that can confuse and repel pests like aphids, whiteflies, and even some types of beetles. Many insects rely heavily on smell to locate the plants they want to feed on, and marigolds disrupt that process by masking the scent of nearby vegetables and flowers. This makes it harder for pests to find your crops, especially sensitive plants like tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers. At the same time, marigolds attract beneficial insects such as ladybugs and hoverflies, which naturally feed on pests and help keep your garden balanced without any chemical intervention. What makes marigolds even more powerful is their underground effect. Their roots release natural compounds that help reduce harmful soil pests like nematodes, which attack plant roots and weaken growth from below. This means marigolds are protecting your garden both above and below the soil surface at the same time. To use them effectively, plant marigolds densely around the edges of your garden beds or between vegetables. Rather than scattering them randomly, look out for clusters of aphids on the flower heads, which often means they are acting as a trap crop, drawing pests away from your more valuable plants. If infestations become heavy, simply prune the affected parts to keep things under control. With their ability to repel pests, improve soil health, and attract helpful insects, marigolds act like a living protective shield for your entire garden. Plant number 2. Catnip, the invisible pest shield. Catnip is best known for the effect it has on cats, but in the garden, plays a completely different role. It acts as a powerful natural pest deterrent. The key compound behind this is called nepentolactone, a strong aromatic oil that insects respond to very differently than mammals do. For many common garden pests like aphids, whiteflies, ants, spider mites, flea beetles, and even mosquitoes, this compound creates a confusing and irritating environment that makes them avoid the plant and the surrounding area. Instead of comfortably feeding or laying eggs, these insects are pushed away, which helps reduce overall pest pressure in nearby crops. At the same time, catnip can attract beneficial insects such as hoverflies, which help keep pest populations naturally under control. To get the best results, catnip should be planted near vulnerable crops like tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and roses, where pest pressure is usually high. However, because catnip spreads very aggressively, many gardeners prefer growing it in containers so it doesn't take over the garden. This also allows you to move it around depending on where pest problems appeared. If you gently crush or brush the leaves, more of the plant's aromatic oils are released, increasing its pest-repelling effect in the surrounding area. When it's working well, you'll notice fewer aphids clustering on nearby plants and less insect activity overall. Simple, low maintenance, and surprisingly powerful, catnip quietly protects your garden without needing any chemicals or sprays. Plant number 3. Basil, the aromatic garden protector. Basil is more than just a kitchen herb. It's also a strong natural defender in the garden. Its leaves produce powerful aromatic oils like eugenol and linalool, which give basil its signature scent. While humans enjoy this fragrance, many common pests such as aphids, whiteflies, spider mites, and mosquitoes find it overwhelming and avoid areas where basil is growing. These strong scents can also mask the smell of nearby vegetable plants, making it harder for pests to locate their targets. This is why basil is often planted alongside tomatoes and peppers. It helps protect them while also being useful for cooking. In addition, basil flowers can attract beneficial insects that help keep pest populations under control. To use basil effectively, plant it close to crops that are often attacked by insects, especially tomatoes, lettuce, and peppers. For stronger pest protection, it's important to regularly pinch off the flower buds before they fully develop. When basil starts flowering, it shifts energy away from producing the aromatic oils that help repel pests, which reduces its protective power. Keeping the plant in a leafy, actively growing state ensures it releases the maximum amount of scent. When it's working well, you'll notice fewer pests on nearby plants and healthier, cleaner leaves overall. Basil is easy to grow, useful in the kitchen, and highly effective in the garden, making it one of the most practical companion plants you can use. Plant number 4. Nasturtiums, the trap crop strategy. Nasturtiums are one of the smartest pest control plants you can grow because they don't just repel insects, they attract them on purpose. This is called a trap crop strategy. Instead of protecting your vegetables by pushing pests away, nasturtiums act like a decoy that draws insects such as aphids, whiteflies, squash bugs, and cabbage loopers toward themselves. Many of these pests prefer nasturtiums over crops like tomatoes, cucumbers, and cabbage, which helps reduce the pressure on your main plants. While it may look like the nasturtiums are under attack, they are actually doing the important job of protecting everything around them. At the same time, their bright flowers attract beneficial insects like ladybugs and hoverflies, which feed on the pests gathered there. To use nasturtiums effectively, plant them around the edges of your garden beds or near vulnerable crops so they can act as an early line of defense. Check them regularly, especially the undersides of leaves, where aphids tend to gather in large groups. When pest levels become high, you can remove heavily infested leaves or treat the plant directly with a mild insecticidal soap without affecting your main crops. If needed, severely infested plants can even be removed entirely to reduce pest populations quickly. One bonus is that nasturtiums are completely edible. Their leaves and flowers have a peppery taste and can be added to salads. Beautiful, useful, and highly strategic, nasturtiums turn pest control into a simple, natural process. Plant number 5. Dill. The beneficial insect magnet. Dill doesn't fight pests directly. Instead, it works by bringing in the real security team of your garden. When dill begins to flower, it produces umbrella-shaped clusters packed with nectar and pollen that attract a wide range of beneficial insects. These include ladybugs, lacewings, hoverflies, and parasitic wasps, all of which are natural predators of common garden pests like aphids, mealybugs, and caterpillars. Once these helpful insects arrive, they don't just visit, they stay, feed, and reproduce in your garden, creating a long-term natural control system. This makes dill incredibly valuable, because instead of you constantly fighting pests, nature begins to manage the problem for you. To get the most out of dill, it's important to let at least some plants flower, instead of harvesting everything too early. The flowers are the key part that attracts beneficial insects, so leaving a few dill plants to mature can make a big difference in pest control. Plant dill near vegetables that are commonly affected by pests, such as tomatoes, cabbage, and cucumbers. As it works, you'll start noticing more ladybugs and hoverflies around your garden, along with fewer visible pest infestations. Just make sure to place dill where it won't overshadow smaller plants, since it can grow tall and bushy. Simple, natural, and highly effective, dill quietly builds a stronger, more balanced garden ecosystem over time. Plant number 6. Chrysanthemums. The natural insect killer. Chrysanthemums are not just beautiful flowers. They are one of the most powerful natural pest control plants you can grow. Their secret lies in a group of compounds called pyrethrins, which naturally affect the nervous systems of many insects. When pests like aphids, whiteflies, ants, spider mites, fleas, ticks, and even beetles come into contact with these compounds, their nervous systems become disrupted, which makes chrysanthemums highly effective at reducing pest activity. This is the same natural chemistry that inspired many commercial insecticides, meaning you are essentially growing a plant that produces its own pest control solution. At the same time, chrysanthemums still support your garden ecosystem by attracting pollinators like bees and butterflies to their bright blooms. To use chrysanthemums effectively, plant them as borders around vegetable beds, pathways, or areas where pest pressure is common. They work especially well near crops like tomatoes, peppers, and roses, where aphids and whiteflies often appear. As they grow, observe nearby plants for reduced pest damage, cleaner leaves, and healthier growth. For best results, ensure chrysanthemums receive plenty of sunlight and are planted in well-draining soil so they can produce abundant flowers. While they are powerful, it's important to use them as part of a balanced garden system, since very high concentrations can also affect beneficial insects if they come into direct contact. When used correctly, chrysanthemums act as a natural, protective barrier that strengthens the overall health of your garden. Plant number 7. Garlic. The all-purpose garden defender. Garlic is one of the most powerful and versatile pest-repelling plants you can grow because it works in multiple ways at once. Its strong sulfur compounds, especially allicin, produce a pungent smell that many insects find overwhelming. Pests such as aphids, whiteflies, spider mites, mealybugs, and even some beetles often avoid areas where garlic is growing because it disrupts their ability to locate host plants. Instead of relying on a single method, garlic combines scent masking with natural antimicrobial properties, which also helps reduce the risk of certain fungal diseases in the garden. This makes it one of the few plants that protects both against pests and some plant infections at the same time. To use garlic effectively, plant it throughout your garden rather than keeping it in one single area. It works especially well near crops like roses, tomatoes, cabbage, and peppers, where pest pressure is usually high. You can also boost its effectiveness by making a simple garlic spray from crushed cloves soaked in water and applying it to affected plants. As garlic grows, watch for fewer pest clusters, healthier leaves, and reduced insect damage around nearby crops. Because it is easy to grow, low maintenance, and also edible, garlic is one of the most practical companion plants you can add to any garden. When used consistently, it becomes a quiet but powerful defender working beneath the surface of your entire garden system. Now, you've seen something most gardeners never fully realize: pest control doesn't always have to come from a bottle. Nature already built its own system long before we ever stepped into the garden. When you start using plants like marigolds, basil, garlic, and dill strategically, you're not just growing a garden anymore. You're building an ecosystem that defends itself. Some plants repel pests, some confuse them, some trap them, and others quietly call in an army of beneficial insects that do the hard work for you. And once all of these systems start working together, the difference in your garden becomes impossible to ignore. So here's your next step: don't try to do everything at once. Start small. Pick 2 or 3 plants from this list and introduce them into your garden this week. Observe what changes. Watch which pests decrease, which beneficial insects show up, and how your plants respond over time. Gardening is not about perfection. It's about learning, adjusting, and working with nature instead of against it. If this video helped you, be sure to like, subscribe to GreenNest Garden, and drop a comment telling me which plant you're going to try first. And if you've had success with any of these plants before, share your experience. Your story might help another gardener save their entire harvest. I'll see you in the next one, and until then, keep growing smart and growing naturally.